All right. We are live. It is 10 o'clock. I clicked the button right when the clock turned to 10. We are well prepared this morning. So cheers, coffee. And how's your coffee this morning, Matt?
Well, as always, it's actually Diet Dr. Pepper, but it's just delicious.
So here we are. It is no longer summer. I mean, I don't know where anybody else is watching us from. There's nobody watching us right now. But it turned from summer to fall here in the last couple days. So we are now in the beginnings of the long slide towards cold. So not that means anything, but just the observation. So Matt, you sent an article out on the 26th that we're going to talk a little bit about today. And you're probably really interested in its direct implications. And I'm much more interested in all the other ways sort of this stuff is going to propagate around to other consumer sorts of services versus tech sort of services. So why don't you set it up for us?
Sure. So for those of you guys listening on the audio version only, I'm going to have an LLM here. I'll read you what it says. It's just text. It's nothing pretty to look at here. But AWS released a MCP that is focused at their cost stuff. So, and a big part of what I do is cost analysis or FinOps for large companies that are running on AWS. So I'm very curious to see what it can do. And I think we'll go ahead and test it live here and see if...
So let me, for the audio only, why don't you even set the stage of what this is, what it can be used for, what it's going to do, etc.
Well, I can read and analyze our AWS budgets. It can look at recommend savings plans. Theoretically, we're going to find out on this call. It can recommend ways you could theoretically save. So, yeah, there's a handful of them there that it's actually the name of it is AWS Labs billing cost management MCP server.
So this is an MCP that connects to Amazon's billing services, and you can ask it natural language questions.
Yeah, it
not just present tense questions, if I heard you right, but future tense, past tense, etc. questions, hypothetical questions, perhaps even.
Yep, absolutely.
All right.
Depending on how smart, your LLM is, but yeah, it'll have access to all the tools. About 6 different cost services, AWS billing being the most obvious one. But there's other, analysis for S3 spend and S3 distribution, things like that it's got access to.
At some point, could something like this even suggest putting some sort of data, say, hey, what data should I put in cold storage? Will it even, or is that beyond where we are right now?
That's a good question. Let's ask it. Can you analyze? I'm going to do this with my speech tool. Can you analyze my S3 buckets and give me recommendations on any files that might be good to put in Glacier or other ways I could save money with my S3? So that was my dictation tool. Okay, I was thinking about getting rid of the dictation tool, but actually for this use case where I'm on a podcast or live thing, that's phenomenal. So right now, I'll just read it off. It's going to analyze my S3 storage costs, and it's got 5 to-dos here. Get S3 cost breakdown by storage class and usage patterns. So it's calling out there.
Can you increase the size in that window for the? For
I will try. And me? Oh, I can. Look at that. I'm new to cursor, so
beautiful. Thank you.
Maybe am I? I'll at least make this window bigger. I think I can actually make it the main thing. Oh well. So either way, it called the Cost Explorer, called Session SQL. I don't know why I did that. Storage Lens. Yeah, so that's kind of nice. So Storage Lens, it wrote like a query, that actually gets the storage lens by bucket. So that's nice. I wonder what it's doing with SQL here. Oh, okay, that makes sense. Session SQL, it's storing information because it's not used to an LLM with such a big context window, likely. So either way, it analyzed. So it's on the step. It keeps pulling the steps off the screen as I'm reading them here. Sorry. But either way, it gave us a report. All right. So the report, S3 cost analysis and optimization recommendations. I hope there's nothing embarrassing on here. This is my personal AWS account. But let's see. Monthly cost.
We can delete the live stream, but it is still live.
Yeah, that's true. Monthly cost December 2024. Storage cost $26.93. I do have several terabytes on there. Total cost basically $27 a month for what I'm paying for it. 36 gigabytes. I thought I had more than that. I did some cleaning house earlier. That must have been it. We cleared out a bunch of those models from
yeah, those are huge. Those were huge.
Yeah. So all right. So it's giving me just a mapping of the cost. So we can go from potential monthly savings $8 to $20. So we can drop some of the stuff in the Glacier and save a couple $100 a year, which I wouldn't mind. So does it specify which ones? Let's see, based on your access patterns. Here we go. It tells me some of the access patterns there, so that's good. There's one bucket I know just as a backup of like a bunch of old photos and videos, and I'm wondering if it'll find that. That's basically my success metric for this thing. Okay, so set up lifecycle policies for old files, 30 days old. Okay. Archive older files, 90 days old. Glacier instant retrieval, just deep archive backups. Yep. Okay, so it's kind of just repeating itself here.
Number 5 is what it lists, where it looks like it starts to get interesting.
Here we go. Okay, so quick wins. We can write this basically a standard.
Here's some JSON you can drop right into place to take care of something, if I'm seeing that right, correct?
Yeah, we're looking at some rules that basically will say, yeah, if it hasn't been accessed in such and such a time, drop it in the Glacier.
What is your professional opinion of this? This is a pretty brute force, there's no elegance to this solution perhaps, but insofar as a solution, what's your thoughts on this?
I wouldn't just slap this on a client's website without knowing what was in the buckets. So, because basically the longer you store this stuff, or like the cheaper you go with it, the more time it takes to bring it back to life. So if I've got something that I need to be able to bring back and view instantly, like with a drop of a hat, I don't want to slap that in Glacier so much. It depends on the storage class. Again, I don't want to slap it in like the real, deep archive there. But so basically the standard is accessible within milliseconds, and the further back you go, it takes minutes, hours, etc.
But my point, if you haven't accessed a file in 90 days, or maybe it's 120, maybe it's 365, something like that.
Yeah. That logic isn't completely unfounded. But basically, if you had like a big data type piece that you needed some information, and some guy from sales is like, "Hey, we need this done like in the next hour, or we're going to be screwed." You don't want to have it in something that's going to take 24 hours to retrieve or something like that. So, it's 90 days is not a long enough timeline where I'm willing to make that gamble. Over a year, maybe. But there's always something like, oh, once a year we got to run this thing, and then they show up, So it just as long as everybody's on board that, hey, it could take a day to run this thing. So with those videos that I've got, like from college and whatnot, which I probably should delete, I don't care if those don't show up for a day. It's not like I'm going to need those at a moment's notice. But it's always something I do with my clients is make sure I understand the use cases of the data. So either way, set up cost alerts. That's great. If someone's going to look at them. So it's great when some batch job goes awry or we get spammed with something that kicks off. Like if Drawn By had gotten nailed with a ton of requests, I would have wanted to have known about it, but we throttled that anyway. There was a limit to how much they could spend. So the alerts, I guess it would have been nice to get an alert, but they couldn't have spent that money to begin with. Yeah. So either way, total potential savings summary, conservative 30%, $46. It's kind of funny. If I ran this with my other clients, the numbers would be in the tens of thousands. Yeah, it'd be lots of there. So I am curious. I'd love to run it with them, but I'm not going to run it with them
live. Yeah, without their permission and live.
Correct. Yeah. Well, and I'll give it a read-only account that's very limited. This has got my access to my account. I'd create its own user for my clients. So yeah, that gave us some S3 ideas. The thing is, it didn't label. Actually, I'm going to ask it. Can you recommend any specific buckets that haven't been utilized or would be likely good to be moved to Glacier? Hold on. Does it paste it? I'll try that again. Can you recommend any specific buckets that should be migrated to Glacier? So the thing is, I don't know if it's got access to enough metrics that would do it. Actually, you could do a per bucket metric to see if it if a bucket's it has high volume of usage or not. And I'd wager, actually, I've got quite a few of them that are old projects that
you gave a talk a couple weeks ago about agentic software, and this is kind of like the first thing that I've really seen that starts making a lot of sense, right? I mean, but this is hyper niche to people using AWS.
Mm-hmm.
My mind goes to 1,000 different use cases of people wanting to get things done. Could you plan my monthly budget? Could you summarize things like this already exist, but not in a format where you can say exactly what you want, how you want. Anyways, I mean, there's no particular point to that, but I can just start seeing how, especially you using the voice in this, how this is, dare I say, like what Siri or Alexa, the total next level of that, right?
I mean, I'd be surprised if Siri didn't have some LLM capabilities. I mean, they just cover it. It's the same voice, so it's like the user wouldn't even know if it's talking to an LLM or a person. Correct. So the only reason I could see them not doing it is if Apple didn't want to take risks there. If they wanted clearly defined conversations. But in all reality, they've got to be using some type of LLM under the hood. So it didn't make recommendations, but what it did do is it told me how I could do it theoretically. Very interesting as well. So, and it did get both the accounts that we've got in this organization, which is the Cloud War Games account, which is not costing me anything. So it didn't quite. It's just telling me step by step how to do it, but not doing it for me. So it's not really like a concierge approach there.
Or perhaps it does. Do you think it might not have the permissions to go there yet, or
it has the permissions,
or is it beyond its capabilities, or does it just not know what you're asking or how to connect the dots?
It might not know how to connect the dots. It does have permissions to do so, which is interesting. So like, because it's got my permissions right now, and I have permissions to do everything. So let's try something else with it. Can you take a look at my overall AWS account and recommend ways I could save money? So,
I mean, I'm curious, could you also ask it, I'm expecting to 10x my traffic Tuesday of next week.
I love it.
What would you suggest for scaling or something along these lines?
Yeah, write that down. All right, so right now it's got 7 to-dos. Analyze total AWS cost by service and time period, then get detailed breakdown of cost AWS services, analyze. Yep. It moved the window on me. Get detailed. All right, right past that one. Check the budget status and alerts. Identify cost anomalies and unusual spending. We should have some cost anomalies in there if it goes back even 3 months, because we migrated from Lambda to ECR because of that stupid MongoDB thing. I still want to migrate back. See, provide comprehensive costs optimization summary. So it's still thinking, and now it's printing out the summary here. So based on your complete AWS analysis, here's a detailed breakdown, blah, blah, blah. So, yep. So September, I only paid a bill $50 for AWS, and you could see it creeping up. Oh, that was back a year ago. Yeah, we keep adding things to it.
Well, it stops in December of 2024. What's with that?
That's a good question. Why does it stop? I'll ask it that. There should be no reason why it couldn't. It's not like it's like.
So, there's some quick wins. Does this make sense to you?
Yeah, quick wins. All right. Replace NAT gateway with NAT instance. I'll have to look into that one. It's also possibly hallucinating things. Delete old EBS snapshots. That's accurate. We could get rid of that. How much are we spending on that? $6. Get out of here. Evaluate API gateway caching. We're not.
What's the last word? Necessity?
Yeah, we're not. What's it saying? I'm spending on NAT gateway caching. Or API gateway caching, sorry. I don't think none of the active projects are caching right now, so that'd be something worth looking into there, though. It's interesting. All right. And review Kinesis usage patterns. My Kinesis usage patterns, I'm going to use it more. I have Kinesis spun up still from back in the drawn by days, and I'm paying for it, but I wasn't using it for a long time. But we're going to actually be doing some real cool big data lake stuff with it. Because actually, fun kind of hint is, I'm talking about all this bot traffic. Well, analytic tools designed for humans in the browser aren't the same as tracking, say, bot traffic from this exact tool we're working with right now. So I'm kind of playing around with some new ways to do analytics specifically aimed at bots. So that'll be fun. Total saving plan potential, save a couple bucks conservatively, aggressively if we were to cut down. Interesting, it didn't say anything about ECS, but and it said I can create a budget. Of course, you can create budgets if you wanted to. I'm not in my internal stuff. We're so small, I don't stress on it. But if you're out there publicly and you're running a big company, I definitely do it. And that instance thing, I'll have to take a look at. I'm not as familiar. Kinesis evaluation, is it really necessary? Touche. I have not been using it appropriately, and I probably should have turned it off a long time ago, but I love event-driven architecture, and I definitely should be using it more. S3 lifecycle policies, I can get behind that because I've got a bunch of old projects that I definitely could pull out, some of that stuff and make it older. So that's a good one. Evaluate Kinesis alternatives. I get it.
It's beating you with that. It's almost got bias against it.
Yeah. Right size Elasticache. Yeah, we're using like a really small Elasticache instance because I don't have a ton of usage for it internally. But that's definitely true. We could reserve instances purchases, or that we could, if I wasn't half convinced I want to migrate back to Lambdas from ECS for my main web applications. If we had enough traffic, I'd stick with ECS. But
you like messing with things too much to have a long-term technology commitment.
I've been using Lambdas and ECS for a long time. It's more of the volume of traffic we get. I'm overpaying for the volume of traffic. I wish I had a website that got the volume of traffic that my clients get, but I don't. No one's going to schematical.com and where I should have a server up for 24/7. I can go serverless and save probably $30 a month. And I was until that MongoDB debacle when we added in a CMS, and the CMS didn't support something like Dynamo. And so it only had like two options. And one of them was MongoDB, which we were already paying for. And so I switched to that. And then the cold boot from the Lambda, for some reason with the MongoDB, it added a ton of latency. So I migrated it to ECS, which I could do in an hour or two. So I can migrate it back just as quickly. It's not an issue. It's more of an optimization thing. And I wanted it to be faster. I was hoping we get an SEO boost from it. Because when when the crawlers hit it at 3 a.m., you want it to be as fast as possible, even when it's not warmed up. So I digress. It's not that I'm not married to one technology or another. Those two technologies I've been using for a decade-ish, a little short of a decade. I think 2016 or 17 is when we started using ECS, and it's quite lovely. Either way, we're way off topic here. They think they can get 30 to 35 to 50% reduction on it. I absolutely think that's possible. Why haven't I done it? Because I'm so much more focused on my clients' websites and their infrastructure than I am on saving myself $100 or, something of that nature. So, but we should do it. I think that'd not be a bad idea. Now, this thing can't take action on my behalf. I'm going to ask it to. I'm a little afraid. I'm going to be quick on the stop button because it's smart enough where it could run commands from command line. We're using Cursor, by the way, here just because it's got decent enough MCP integration. But I'm going to ask it to fix this stuff. Let's see.
Choose something small like the
life cycle.
S3. Yeah.
So can you implement a S3 lifecycle fix on at least one of the buckets? Let's just limit it to one bucket for now. So I just asked it that, and it's thinking. Provide implementation commands for the user. So it's providing implementation commands for the user. I wonder if that's a prompt coming out of this MCP.
Can you maybe try to get around if this is a rule that is on this MCP behind the scenes saying, you know what I mean? Like, give me the free car or give me the 18,000 cups of water. Like, is there something like that in here?
We could try to jailbreak it. Because right now it's telling me the command to run S3. Is it actually running it?
I don't know.
Okay, this is good. So it did try and run it, which is good. I'm going to stop it. I intentionally, I don't have a default profile for AWS command line, basically. So that way, if you just try and run command line commands without specifying a profile, it won't run. It'll break it. And so, that's good because I have so many clients that all have different profiles.
Their own profile, sure.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to run it on the wrong profile. I want to be very mindful of it.
So it tried to do it.
It did try to do it.
Well, it at least tried to get credentials to do it. We don't know if it would have tried to do it.
No, it did try to do it, actually. Right here, that is it trying to do it. And then it probably ran into an error when it ran this. And then the next thing it said is, and this, I run this command all the time, who am I and what account am I on? So when it got an error here, it tried wanted to make sure it wasn't just a permissions error. So, that's just what am I on? Claude 4 Sonnet trying to do that one. So more so. I like your idea of the scale. Let's jump to the scale stuff, if that's all right.
Go for it.
Tomorrow, or if I'm going to try this again, as I always do this with dictation software. Next week, I am expecting a 3,000% increase, or maybe even 3,000x increase in traffic to my website. What can I do to make sure, looking at my stack, that the website will stay up? Damn it. Always on a live event. We'll try this again. Tomorrow, I am expecting a 3,000x increase in traffic to the website. What can I do between now and then to make sure the website will stay up and moving fast? Let's see if it's stealing my job now. This is a critical situation. The user, all right. This is really tough narrating this thing as it goes, but to-dos: implement immediate auto-scaling compute resources. Configure CloudFront CDN for static assets. Already done. Set up RDS, read replicas. RDS isn't our actual data source, but it doesn't know that. So this is interesting. It's having trouble connecting the dots. I do have RDS up for N8N, but it's not like what's keeping the website up. So, but I will say I wasn't that specific there. And there's, 8 different websites that we've got.
DDoS that just went past there.
WAF and DDoS protection. Yep. I mean, it's not completely off the walls, but it's definitely struggling to connect the dots. God, I hope
So
it's not.
if I'm somebody who doesn't know what I'm doing and I start copying and pasting, I'm probably going to be in a world of hurt pretty quickly.
You're going to spend some money, that's for sure. So it really loves its emojis. All right, so I really hope it's not running any of this stuff, but we just tested it. So either way, immediately auto scaling and compute on ECS and EC2. That would help with the application layer. Wouldn't help at all with the data layer. API gateway throttling caching, that would help, but it doesn't know what's on the website. So if we were something that like your particular web page changes every half hour or something like that, or like Twitter, if you were like Twitter and you hit refresh and it cached and just shows you the same tweets for like the next every time you hit refresh, you're going to be annoyed. So it's not taking into account a lot of that stuff. Database scaling is one way of doing it, but if you're not set up right, it's still going to that's going to
spin up an extra large. So that
this is a good way to spend some money, but it's not the best way to scale up cost effectively. Like there's no partitioning or anything there. Elastic cache scaling, this one actually would be pretty useful as long as you're not using, well, actually even with cross keys, it's not partitioned. So like there's some devils in the details in here, but it's a good start in giving me options. CloudFront create distributions. We already have all that, so I'm a little annoyed at that one. WAF and DDoS protection, we already have this on at least a couple places, but so not that I don't even get enough requests where I really worry about it, but it's doing CloudWatch alarms, put metrics there, so that's good. That's on 500 errors. It looks like it wants to add an alarm there. I don't know where it's sending it to. Again, what's the point in having an alarm if no one looks at it? But load testing, hit it with artillery.
That is a great name for a load testing tool.
Gatling's another one.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, it's clever. So it's giving us some capacities here. Service ECS task, current 2 to 5, which, yeah, it's lower than that, but yeah, you can get it up to 100 again. Yeah, application level changes. What's that? For read replica. Doesn't tell me where it wants me to put this. API rate, circuit breaker. Okay, well, it's got some YAML here, which looks like it could be legit, but it doesn't tell me where to put it. I'm not sure what it's referring to specifically because it's a couple different areas here. Infrastructure limits. You can request service quotas. Yeah, let's. I hope it's not running any of these things. I'm pretty sure it didn't. Here we go. So it created some to-dos, some checklists. Like it without knowledge of the system completely. These aren't horrible recommendations, but it's they're not. They're also a little misguided.
Well, are these, dare I say, are generic recommendations just for the particulars of different technologies that it found in your stack?
Right. Without actually knowing how anything goes through the stack, it made these recommendations for these disparate parts of it. But with that said, I didn't give it a ton of information, but it didn't ask me any questions. It should have said, I mean, if it was actually intelligent in some way, it should have said, here are the websites that you're hosting. Are you talking about cloudwargames.com? Are you talking about schematical.com? It was just like, no, these are some random technologies. All the technologies have to be part of it. So it's not quite, it's not taking into account any realistic scenarios there. I mean, my first thoughts would be to try and understand the architecture and infrastructure here. Actually, we're going to try one last thing here. Based on what you have access to, can you create me a mermaid diagram showing the network? Let's do one network map that shows how everything fits together and where the costs are at. Yeah, indicate on the map what's costing me what. So now this is going to be interesting because I don't think it actually, with just the cost things.
And there's some serious ambiguity in that question that it has to understand too. Indicate on the map that what's costing me what, right? I mean, it's going to have to figure that out. That's incredibly vague and ambiguous.
No, this is not how you should write prompts. Don't write prompts like me right now on the fly on a live stream. With that said, one of the first things I do is get the lay of the land and figure out how to connect the dots. So, so here with the tools that it has access to, it actually couldn't write a real network map because it doesn't know the connections. It could tell you what is on the map, but it wouldn't be able to give you the actual network map itself. So what it gave me is actually not the worst thing. I'll try and include this in the show notes, but it's not the worst thing. It kind of knows that CloudFront and API Gateway are existing in an edge network. So it drew that out there. It showed me a VPC with one public subnet, one private subnet, and it gave it a NAT gateway this in the public subnet. So that makes sense. And it gave me a load balancer, and it put RDS and Elasticache in the private subnet, which is all somewhat likely. It did group things in where they should go, but I don't think it did it like it doesn't take into account that I've got like 4 subnets, 4 private subnets and 4 public subnets. It's only just grouped them all into one. So honestly, this I'm gonna give it like a B+ on. Like in reality, it should be saying, "Hey, I can't give you an exact accurate one," and it might have because it spit out so much text at us. But yeah, I'm gonna try and can I copy this? All right, I'm copying that. Cool. So that actually is pretty. Oh boy, it popped up on the wrong screen. I'm trying to paste this in our internal chat so we can use it as a thumbnail for this thing. Nope, can't do it. I just copied the text. Oh well, we'll do it later. But that actually was kind of cool. That's interesting to get the visualization there. And if I actually connect it with Kinesis, or not Kinesis, oh my God, with Terraform, or with giving a command line access, there's a good chance it could actually map it out pretty strategically, which would be a nice product to have, probably.
Huh. Well, next week they'll have it for you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
All right. Cool. Other things to talk about on this, but I think this is a precursor of some things to come. And much like the other technology you've said, I believe you've called AI, machine learning, etc., like an intern that lies to you that you always have to watch over, or something along those lines.
Like an intern that lies to you half the time. So I mean, even right here, like it's not wrong, but it's not telling you what it can't see in any details. I'm actually going to try and see if I can see where it says.
But this, like all other LLMs, dare I say, it takes the aggregate of everything it knows about everybody and then sprinkles what it knows about you over the top of it.
Yeah. Right here, I'll create a comprehensive network diagram. It's not so comprehensive. So yeah, it's an interesting tool though. I would I don't know about production use. Like I said, I'd still make sure it only had read-only access and things like that if I was to use it with a client. But as we do more assessments and things of that nature, I could see this being useful, or releasing it to people in the community, because setting this thing up, we can go in MCPs, but setting this thing up was a pain in the butt. It really.
Speaking of pain in the butt, don't we have some solution for that coming up on a couple days from now?
On
Friday.
On Friday, we're talking to the founder of Universal Tool Call Protocol, which is for discovery. And so this Friday, September 5th, we'll be talking to the founder of that protocol, which is great for discovery, and he's tackling some authentication issues. But I think mainly it's a great discovery protocol, and I think that's going to be amazing. But like I was saying, unrelated to that, well, I guess you could discover this tool there, but this particular tool is set up in a way where it can only be run via a standard input and output. So you've got to install the software on your computer in order to talk to the cloud, which is ludicrous. They could have just released an input for it. So what I was saying is, if I wasn't completely confident AWS will fix this debacle of a release fairly shortly, I'd say we could build that as a tool. But if you're looking for help getting something like this set up, so you can do this stuff, you should check out schematical.com/community, where we go hands-on with you in our private community and help coach you on setting up tools like this or just analyzing your bills in general.
So with that, I say it's a wrap. We'll be back Friday and then next Tuesday again at 10 a.m. Central.
Sounds good. Thanks
All right.
for joining, everybody.
See you.